Welcome to this explainer on the art of possibility. Today, we're going to explore how completely shifting your mental framework can transform both your personal and professional life. Now, unlike your typical self-help guides that just give you strategies to survive a fiercely competitive world, what we're talking about today is entirely different. We're going to look at how to literally lift off from that draining world of struggle and sail right into a vast universe of possibility. And honestly, it all comes down to the frames we place around our circumstances. So I want you to start by asking yourself a pretty deep question right off the bat. Are the limits you face every day actually real, or are they completely invented? Just think about the daily barriers you run into. We all wake up, whether you're living in the lap of luxury or dealing with tough times, with this unseen, heavy assumption that life is just a struggle to survive and get ahead in a world with limited resources. But what if those circumstances that seem to be blocking you are only doing so because of the assumptions you're carrying around? To get a grip on this, consider the classic 9-dot puzzle. You've probably seen this one before, right? The instruction is super simple. Connect all 9 dots with 4 straight lines without taking your pen off the paper. Almost everyone looks at this and automatically, without even thinking, assumes they have to keep their lines inside that invisible square formed by the outer dots. You try to solve it within that self-imposed box, and well, within that framework, there is literally no solution. It's impossible. But when you amend the instructions with just one simple phrase, feel free to use the whole sheet of paper, suddenly a totally new possibility appears. It's like the space outside the dots was just crying out, "Hey, bring some lines out here." This perfectly proves that our minds literally define and totally confine what we perceive to be possible. Every problem or dead end we face in life only looks unsolvable because it's inside a particular frame. Enlarge the box, and poof, the problems vanish. So, here is our roadmap for the transformational journey today. 1. It is all invented. 2. Measurement versus possibility. 3. A unique partnership. 4. Practices for transformation. And 5. The alchemy of we. Let's dive right into our first section. It is all invented. The major catchphrase here is exactly that. It's all invented. The crucial takeaway is that it's all a story you tell. Not just some of it, but absolutely all of it. And every story you tell yourself is founded on a network of hidden assumptions. Now, this doesn't mean you can just wave a magic wand and have things appear out of thin air. What it means is that if you learn to actually notice these hidden stories, you can break through any box of unwanted conditions. You can consciously shift your framework to one where the underlying assumptions actually support the life you want to live. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, Measurement versus Possibility. Notice the stark contrast between these two mindsets. On one hand, you have the world of measurement. This is where pretty much all of us grow up. We get to know each other by constantly measuring and comparing. It's a world of total scarcity, fierce competition, and baseline survival, entirely driven by success and failure odds. Life just feels arranged in these rigid hierarchies, and we're constantly fighting over a limited pie. But on the flip side is the universe of possibility. This world is infinite, generative, and totally abundant. Because you aren't weighed down by the constant panic of survival, you gain knowledge by invention. Things like joy, grace, and compassion absolutely thrive here. The pie is enormous, and get this, if you take a slice, the pie is whole again. In the measurement world, you set a goal and struggle for it. But in the universe of possibility, you just set the context and let life unfold. Moving to Section 3, a unique partnership. So before we get into how to make this shift, let's look at the minds who mapped it out. Benjamin and Rosamund Zander developed this whole outlook from two very different, yet completely enhancing perspectives. Ben brings this incredibly energetic, exuberant public voice. As the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, he has this unbounded energy to entice people into accomplishing the extraordinary. He quite literally finds the tempo of transformation. Raz, on the other hand, brings the visionary, structural eye of a landscape painter, an executive coach, and a family systems therapist. She listens for that deep desire in people for something new, for conditions that don't even exist yet, and she actually draws up these new conceptual frameworks. Together, they make an incredibly moving, enlivening team. Okay, Section 4, Practices for Transformation. The big question is, how do we actively do this? Well, the authors give us literal steps for what they call framing possibility. Standard social and business practices are usually built on old assumptions that create this draining downward spiral of meaning. To frame possibility, you first have to make a new distinction. a totally new way of defining the situation that actually exists in the realm of possibility. Then you intentionally substitute it for the current downward spiral framework. You're basically restructuring meaning to establish an environment where the buoyant force of possibility can completely overcome the heavy pull of the struggle. There's also this incredibly powerful transformational practice called being the board. Now, this isn't just about managing relationships to avoid conflict. Actually, scratch that. It's about completely reinventing them. It's about naming yourself as the instrument to make all your relationships into effective partnerships. When you are being the board, you present no obstacles to others. You start to see that the stumbling blocks standing in your way are actually part of you, and only you can remove them. This calls for immense courage and compassion, right? Because you have to remove the barriers to tenderness within yourself to clear pathways for others' accomplishments. Just imagine how much incentive people would have to cooperate with you if they knew they could absolutely count on you to clear the path for them. Let's move to our final section, the alchemy of we. The entire philosophy builds along this beautiful, long melodic line, the transformation from the isolated, struggling I to a unique voice in the ever-evolving chorus of the we. Telling the we story is really about the intentional, ongoing dissolution of the barriers that divide us. It resolves that age-old conflict between the individual and the collective, allowing your unique expression to play a constructive part in setting a direction for everyone. If you really attune your ear to the practices we've discussed today, you'll hear the voice of the we singing through every single one of them in perfect harmony. This sentiment is perfectly captured in a beautiful quote from William James that the authors highlight. He wrote, "I am done with great things and big plans, great institutions and big successes. I am for those tiny, invisible, loving human forces that work from individual to individual, creeping through the crannies of the world like so many rootlets, yet which, if given time, will rend the hardest monuments of human pride." It's just a gorgeous reminder that true transformation doesn't always come from massive institutional shifts, but from those tiny, invisible, loving forces we cultivate between each other when we finally decide to operate in the universe of possibility. So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What invisible, loving human force will you become today to break the frame of your own limitations? You have the tools now to step out of that draining world of measurement. Remember the 9 dots. Enlarge the box. Shift your framework. Invent your own universe of possibility today, and just watch how it transforms not only your life, but the lives of absolutely everyone around you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.